Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is a review of the 1986 cult classic, Blue Velvet. Now, before I get to sharing my thoughts on this film, I want to give a special shout out to Seth for requesting this review. If there is a film you would like to see me review, or a topic you'd like to hear me discuss, feel free to donate to my PayPal. The link will be in the video description. Now let's get to talking about this weird, bizarre film, Blue Velvet. Now, Blue Velvet is directed by David Lynch, and David Lynch is well known for his surreal, nightmarish, and vivid filmmaking, and Blue Velvet is no exception. This film is a visual masterwork. I am not, I guess, as in love with the film as other people are. I still really like the movie, but I don't think it's a complete and total masterpiece when it comes to its storytelling, when it comes to its characterization. But when it comes to its visuals, absolutely, I agree. This film is stunning. This transfer by Criterion is also stunning. The movie has this really dreamlike quality to it, and I think that's definitely intentional by David Lynch. And a lot of his films and a lot of his work tend to have this vibe and this mood and this atmosphere, this feeling of being trapped inside a purgatory of sorts that's in between the dream world and reality, that it's real enough in terms of certain things that are familiar to you, but it's dreamlike enough in other ways. How it's edited, how Lynch works with the shadows and lighting, how Lynch works with his camera. He uses a lot of unorthodox camera techniques and zooms and a lot of things to really take you off guard. And as a result, it does create this vibe of being trapped in this purgatory that isn't quite reality, but also isn't quite a dream either. And it's very unique and it's very different. And I think his direction in this is phenomenal. He also manages to get the most insane performances out of his cast with a lot of high energy, with a lot of really compelling moments and bits for them to chew on because of his nature, because of how he's so attuned to the bizarre, to the strange, to the surreal. He's able to get those kind of performances out of his actors and his actresses more so than maybe another director because he's so comfortable with it. And it's something that he also manages to make the actors and actresses feel just as comfortable doing things that are really unsettling. And if there was any other director involved, it might come across as something that would be forced, or the actors or the actresses wouldn't feel comfortable in their own skin, or in this particular skin. And with Lynch, he manages to have this calming presence over his films despite their subject material. And this is definitely a really dark film and a really dangerous film when it comes to its subject material. You got sadomasochism, you got murder, you got kidnapping, you got rape, you got all kinds of fucked up weird shit. And despite all of that, at the core of this film is really a film noir. And to me personally, the most effective elements of this film and its story, other than the visuals and the score or some of the music that's used in the film, is the film noir aspects. It's the basic story of someone trying to solve a mystery and getting in too deep. the ear that's found in a field, and the puzzle of who the ear belongs to, and what's going on with this mysterious figure, Dorothy Valens, in this apartment complex. And then you have other characters that are brought into the fold, like the absolute insanity personified that is Frank, played by Dennis Hopper. And then there's a little bit of a romance as well that is honestly really sweet and charming and very heartfelt for a Lynch film. And despite the really dark tone throughout, the movie surprisingly has a happy ending. And I think the happy ending, when it comes to this story, is a big reason why I like the film as much as I do. I was expecting it to be dark all the way till the end. I was expecting Jeffrey to die, expecting his girlfriend to die. I was expecting things to be really fucked up because a lot of Lynch films tend to be that way. And that's not the case here. So this is one of those rare instances where a happy ending was genuinely surprising. It wasn't expected. The dark ending would have been the expected route to go, but Lynch, he thrives on the unexpected, and with this film, he provides the unexpected in a fashion that you rarely see, where he manages to twist the happy ending into something that's unexpected and really surprises you. And that just speaks to how great of a filmmaker he is. I think he's a better filmmaker and a better idea man. He's better when it comes to creating a mood than he is as a writer. But he has some nuggets of genuine wisdom with this screenplay. Just simple anecdotes like the world is a strange place. Or things like, why are there people like Frank? That really do make you stop and pause. Yeah, why are there people like Frank who huff nitrous and are absolutely deranged maniacs? Because there has to be balance in this world. You can't have light without dark. And I think this film really exemplifies that. The light amongst the darkness. And I think the happy ending that this film has really does put an even brighter spotlight on that theme of light and dark and how they are very reliant upon each other. But I have to admit, there are some moments in this script that lose me because they're pretentious and a little bit too huffing their own farts, so to speak. And it also suffers from some pacing problems. It sags at points because I'm not as interested in what's going on. I think the decision to have Jeffrey go as far to beat Dorothy, to have this relationship with her, I thought was a little bit much, especially when it comes to the way the character had been portrayed previously. Nothing about the character of Jeffrey was really showing me that he was going to go that far. And the film also didn't really show moments where after he does that, he really feels bad, like he feels remorse, he feels really messed up. There's like just maybe a scene where he looks a little bit perturbed, but that's really about it. And I think there really should have been more sequences of Jeffrey being really disturbed by what he did. There's like a nightmare bit that he has, but I feel that there should have been a little bit more than that. Maybe there could have been another scene where she's trying to get him to do it again, and he's like, "No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing that. I did it before, but I'm not doing it. I I don't even know if I even love you. I think I might just love the idea of being near you and being exposed to something I'm not familiar with. Stuff like that. Because I think that's ultimately what's going on with Jeffrey. He's not necessarily infatuated as much with Dorothy as he is with the idea of the mystery of her and her place in this mystery that he's embroiled in. I really do feel that his love for the other girl, his love for Sandy, is much more genuine. And at the end of the film, it's proven to be the case that that really is the love that is in his heart more than his love for Dorothy. And I understand why Lynch has Dennis Hopper saying the F bomb as much as he possibly can, but he overdid it. He really did, because Dennis Hopper, every other word that comes out of his mouth is the word fuck. And I know, I swear like a sailor in a lot of my videos, but in this film, it takes me out of the movie at times, and I just start laughing, and I don't think that's really the intention. It makes a character like Frank, who starts out as being this really intimidating psycho character, and turns him into a cartoon because he's constantly spewing the F bomb all the time and using it in ways that would make Rob Zombie blush. I think you could have just cut back a lot on that, and I think it really would have been improved upon more. Also, the mystery of the film, it's pretty generic and pretty pedestrian, and I understand why it's dropped at points throughout the movie, because the much more compelling drama is with Frank and Jeffrey, and maybe this whole love triangle with Dorothy and Sandy and Jeffrey. Um, Not necessarily the police conspiracy or who has the missing ear, that kind of thing. But I understand why the ear is there. It's there to set up this device, to set up this spiral into depravity, darkness, and madness. It's more of a framing device than anything else. And there's other things like Jeffrey's dad. He has a heart attack early in the film, and then you have scenes where Jeffrey is visiting him in the hospital, but you don't really see that many other scenes. There's no resolution to the stuff with his dad. Did he make it out? Is his dad alive? Is his dad okay? Is his dad a vegetable? We never really know. So some of those scenes kind of seemed a little bit pointless and kind of like they were more padding than anything. But despite my misgivings with the film's plot and some of the issues I have with its structure and some of the moments that just aren't as engaging as others, it does have this captivating and mesmerizing quality to it. It really does suck you in. Once Jeffrey finds the ear in the field, it just becomes this really hypnotic experience. And when it comes to the performances, I mean, it features some really powerhouse and just dynamic performances by Kyle MacLachlan, Dennis Hopper as Frank Booth, one of his best performances. May he rest in peace. This is a role that he was born to play. There were other actors who were trying to maybe audition for the role, but Dennis Hopper wanted to do it because fuck them. I am Frank. Like, he's like, I am Frank. Like, that's me. And I don't buy, I don't just buy it. I believe it. I believe it wholeheartedly that Dennis Hopper believes that he is this character. Because Dennis Hopper, he was a really different kind of person, for better or for worse. It's a big part of what made him such a good actor and what made him such a unique personality. And there are a lot of scenes in this where he scared the shit out of me. Even more so than genuine horror icons. He left such an impression on me. The night I saw this film, I had a dream, and in my dream, Frank Booth was there, huffing nitrous, swearing, and being as intimidating as ever. And I woke up in a sweat. That rarely has ever happened with any film that I've seen. So, Blue Velvet, despite the fact that I do have some issues with it, in terms of the pacing, in terms of some of the decisions that are made with the story and some of the dialogue, I have to admit, it is a film that really does stick with me. It clearly did, because I dreamt about Frank Booth the night that I saw it. So that whole scene where he says in dreams, it became a reality. He was in my dreams. Just thinking about it, it's just creeping me out, man. Fuck. But despite the moments in this film that are really surreal and nightmarish, like I said, there are some really heartfelt moments in this movie. And then there's some hilarious scenes. Like there was an exchange between Brad Dourif and Dennis Hopper that had me really cracking up, where Brad Dourif is saying, "Hey, do you want me to pour the beer?" "No, I want you to fuck it." "Pour me a fucking beer." So, I mean, oh man, that scene was hilarious. So there are moments like that that are really quite funny, amidst all the moments that are just really unsettling and get under your skin. But yeah, Dennis Hopper, absolutely amazing in this. So fucking good. He only has probably a few scenes, but he makes every scene his own and just steals the film. There's a reason why a lot of people, when they think about I almost said Black Velvet, when they think about Blue Velvet, they think about Dennis Hopper and his performance in this film. I want to fuck everything that moves! So, he's great, but there are other actors and actresses that also hold their own. Laura Dern, I thought this is one of her best performances in her entire career. Shows a lot of range here. She had really good chemistry with Kyle. Kyle also delivers a really good performance. And Dean Stockwell has a little bit role as Ben. And it's very different than what you're used to seeing when it comes to his kind of roles. It just shows you the range that he has. Brad Dourif is in this as one of Frank's gang members. He's definitely underused because Brad Dourif is such a great actor. I would have loved to have seen more scenes with Brad Dourif and Dennis Hopper, because the scenes that they were in and they interacted with one another were classic. So it would have been nice to have seen more scenes with them. But Brad Dourif, he's such a great actor that even in the few scenes that he's in, which are even less than what Dennis Hopper has in this film, he still makes an impression. But I know this might be controversial, but I did not care for Isabella Rossellini. I felt that she was also one of the biggest weak points for the film. I thought her performance was stiff. She really didn't do a whole lot of films before this. She did some acting in White Nights and some other independent films but she really didn't do a whole lot, and it shows. I feel this film would have been even better and really would have been great to me if I actually bought the performance of this character more. I just didn't buy her as Dorothy Valens. I saw it as Isabella Rossellini playing this character. I never really felt the character came to life. And that's because I don't think Rossellini was really that good of an actress at the time. A lot of her lines are very stilted. They're very ineffective because I don't feel that she's that great of an actress at this particular point in her career. And from what I've seen, I don't think she's that great of an actress, period. I know Lynch at one point, he was trying to get Deborah Harry, but she didn't want to do it because she was tired of being typecast as a weirdo. And Deborah Harry isn't an amazing actress, but she has this charisma that I think really would have elevated this performance and elevated this character. So I would have loved to have seen her in that role. I've also heard some things that maybe some other actresses were considered, maybe Sigourney Weaver. And if Sigourney Weaver was in this role, first off, she's an amazing actress. And this would have been really different and really wild and something that I really feel could have tapped into a part of her that could have been really special. But as it is, Rossellini, she has this ethereal beauty, and I think that might have been why Lynch went with her more so over her acting ability. I think that's what went on here. I think Lynch went with her because of how she looked. Not necessarily because she was the best actress. But I give her credit for trying. I give her credit for going for the gusto and doing such a really rough performance in terms of how raw it is and how raw it had to be. So I do give her a lot of credit for that. But the scenes where she's having to say dialogue, there were moments where I couldn't even understand what she was saying. I had to turn on the subtitles. I don't think it's necessarily due to her accent. It's due to her acting. I didn't think she really did that good of a job. But the rest of the cast held their own well. I also wanted to point out George Dickerson as Detective John Williams. I thought he did a really good job as well. And the film is just gorgeously photographed by Frederick Elms. The editing by Dwayne Dunham is excellent. This film has so many dissolves and transitions that are works of art in themselves. And then the score by Angelo Badalamenti, who sadly is also no longer with us. He passed away. Just a really haunting, beautiful, and just amazing, spectacular score. Loved this score. And in particular, I really liked the songs that were used for the soundtrack. And the one that really stood out to me when it comes to the soundtrack for this film is this song that was written specifically for Blue Velvet that was used in the film very prominently. It's called Mysteries of Love by Julie Cruz. That song is so good. It just creates this really surreal and heavenly vibe. And it's such a great song and a great piece of music. And originally, it wasn't the intention of Lynch to have that song in there. He was trying to have another song in there, but he couldn't get the rights for it because it was too expensive. So he had Julie Cruz do that song, and it was the better decision in the end. But speaking of songs, one other problem I do have with this film is they overuse Blue Velvet. I understand why the song is featured so much in the film. It's called Blue Velvet. But after a while, it gets old, and you're kind of like, can I hear another song? Can I hear something else? But that's just me personally. And it is a bit too long. It didn't need to be 2 hours. This story had no business being 2 hours. I don't know why it's 2 hours. But despite my misgivings, despite the issues I do have with this film, I cannot deny Blue Velvet's power. I can't. It's a film that actually made me dream about it. It's a movie that has some visuals that will forever be embedded in my brain. It's one of the best examples of light and dark and good and evil that I can think of. And as a mystery, yes, it's not the most original mystery out there, but it's compelling and captivating enough. And it all culminates in a genuinely badass final shot. Where, and by shot, I mean literal shot. When you have Jeffrey blowing Frank's brains out, and it's graphic, and it's violent, and it's honestly pretty awesome. So, even despite everything that Jeffrey has gone through throughout the course of this film, he still gets to see the Robin. He still gets to see the light. And that spoke to me. And I think that also made the darkness in this film really stand out even more than other films that have consistent tones, that have an ending where everyone is fucked and life sucks. So yeah, I definitely would recommend this film if you are curious about it, if you've heard about it but haven't gotten around to seeing it because it just doesn't seem like a cup of tea. Trust me, I was in that same boat. But after seeing it, it's one of my favorites from 1986. It's definitely one of my favorite David Lynch films. I was kind of jockeying back and forth when it comes to putting it at the top. But the more I think about Dune, I really love that film in so many different ways. It's an epic movie, and it speaks to my personal sensibilities more than Blue Velvet. And I think it's a little more consistent when it comes to certain aspects of its characterization and its storytelling. But despite all of that, it's still a really good movie. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about Blue Velvet, except thanks for watching my review, and as always, I'll see you later. See ya.